So one of the chapters in the book is titled The Policy Cycle. And I'm really, really curious, Geraldine. So how would you describe the relations or tensions between policy and practice and constant push for more reforms within teacher education?
I think even if I look through the chapter here and I think about it and the way we framed it and the way we looked at it when we were putting it together, I think, well, I suppose a key part would be that in the mid 1990s, there was a decision taken, I suppose, at transnational level that evidence-based policy making was going to be the new way of doing all public policies, including education. And that has had a very, very big space given to it in all the reforms across the 38 OECD countries, never mind Europe, never mind Ireland, never mind Sweden. So I think that understanding, I think if you want to understand policy, you've got to get into the transnational space to understand the tensions and the contradictions there at each national level and contextually bound as well. You have to look at all of that so that there is an understanding of policy as text. But then, of course, if we've said policy isn't made equal to the actual text in practice because it's a practice in motion, then we want more sophistication, we want more understanding of complexity and nuance.
So super interesting and important. So in relation to that, why is it important for students, teachers today to understand the historically rooted ideas on which policy today is based?
Yeah, well, I think that, again, I think if you look through the book and the different ideas and concepts we've captured in it, probably the history one is kind of the chapter 2 on our historical consciousness that I know we'll talk about. But I think it is very important for a teacher to understand the history of change and reform. Reform is change instigated by the state. And there has been rapid reform in that last 10, 20 years. And it's been going at a very, very rapid speed, and it has been it's very important to understand where it's positioning the teacher and how the teacher has been repositioned and how teacher education is currently being repositioned. So I think what this chapter does is it brings the research literature, the researchers that are in the policy space around the world, it brings those into the debate and it looks at policy as enacted. There's the policy process, I guess, where policy is made through that democratic processes, and then there's the process by which policy becomes a living thing in the school. And then that's, I think I like what Stephen Ball says there, that it's policy as enacted, because it's if you're an intellectual teacher and you're working as a professional, then you're actually working with the young people in front of you, you're working in the context, and so it's really important then to think of it as you're interpreting and translating the policy in the classroom.
I see. So a lot of things are happening and history is important for the present, but what kind of dilemmas do you find important, Geraldine, to address today as concerns current policy reforms?
Well, I guess the most significant one is the danger of reductionism. The idea of the complexity being taken and stripped of reductionism, us looking at maybe an outside-in type of professional where we don't have the inside-out kind of professionalism added to it, and we have teachers maybe feeling stressed, running around trying to do what is requirements as if they were technical. That's all a series of technical competences and skills and a kind of an add-on of attitudes and values that are given, so that we are not having a deep reflective practice, we're not having the depth there, we're not having deep learning, and we're not having a soul searching by the teacher as well. So that that's the real danger. And then that we are, in terms of democracy, that we're not allowing affordances and spaces for contrarian views in the classroom, for an understanding of plurality, and giving that space for a democratic classroom.
What would you say are the major challenges and possibilities for teacher education when it comes to taking into account policy development?
Yes, I think, well, we're at a very, very interesting moment in policy at the moment. For example, the American Education Research Association is bringing out new special interest journal in the coming months that is actually going to take critical research policy analysis to a new place. So there's clearly, with the closing down of the suffocation of democracy around the world and all the different factors that we've spoken about in the book that are trying to close it down, it's very interesting to see the Academy of Teacher Education beginning to open up the space again, so that there is a new vibrancy around this cultural politics of teacher education, people who are on the margins, injustices and social justice and all of that, how that is taken into account in policy terms, so that there's now coming a rich literature on critical research policy studies, which are no longer, if you like, seen completely on the margins.
Really, really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.